I just wanted to start off by saying thank you very much to both Connie and Anthony for their insightful presentations. Indeed, we have learned a lot from them, and they do raise various issues of concern. When we talk about Kenya, for example, we've just undergone our mutual evaluation process. We are waiting for the report. And I recall two amendments that had been moved to Parliament on lawyers becoming being designated as reporting institutions. One had not gone through, but finally just ahead of the mutual evaluation process, this amendment had to be passed by Parliament because Isamlag had actually issued an ultimatum. And even before the Anti-Money Laundering Act was passed in Kenya in 2009, our central bank had actually had to put in place measures for banks to be compliant, because if we were not compliant with the global anti-money laundering standards, then we wouldn't have had access to, for example, credit lines, correspondent banking services. And I recall as a compliance officer in 2007, we had to confirm that our bank, the bank I was working for at the time, was compliant with these standards. So again, these are some of the consequences that we are talking about. So very quickly, if anybody has a comment or a question, this is your time now to give those comments. Thank you.
Hi, Mercy. I have just sent two questions which were sent in. I hope that you can see them, but I can also resend.
Yes, I can see them. I can see them.
Okay.
Yes, I can
Fantastic.
see them. The first question is, to date, no country is said to be fully compliant with the FATF standards, but African nations feel the brunt of the set standards more. Why is this so? And then I think the second question is identical. And then there's another one. In Canada, the Supreme Court, this is a comment, I think you can just read it. So I
can read this comment for you if you want.
Okay, I can read the comment. In Canada, the Supreme Court refused to allow lawyers to report on clients because it's a violation of the client-attorney privilege. And Canada, of course, was one of the original G7 countries that set up FATF. And actually, if you look at the American example, because I had put this in one of my comments on chat, the American bar actually adopted a self-regulatory approach because of this reason. So I don't know whether there are any other questions and comments.
I can read one question out.
Yes.
Okay. What impacts, if any, does the global FATF standards manned by 37 member nations and 2 regional organizations have on the inclusiveness, applicability, and enforcement of the said standards? And I think I would just say if Professor De Coca would also like to join, then that would be absolutely fine. Thank you.
Yes. I've seen that question now. And I think the others are just comments. Which we can all look at. Thank you. So over to you, panelists. Then we can wind up. We only have 5 minutes.
Okay. Last question, Dr. Idigbe. I'm first hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Professor Coker. In terms of that question, it's not unusual to find states doing what we call forum shopping. So for instance, because of the dynamism of what is happening internationally, you found states like non-leaders like America moving away from the United Nations General Assembly, which was supposed to be where, these rules are supposed to be developed, to more specialized organizations like UNCITRAL, which is the Commission on Trade Law, which is smaller with 40 members. And then you have the debates there, and then they say model laws and regulations come out, and then they take it back to the General Assembly, and then the General Assembly adopts it. Now, with respect to money laundering, why is that system or forum shopping had worked for the non-leader before? They didn't even want to go to the General Assembly. So they used the FAFTA and then they use the structure of compliance, the control of the banking system, and the economic system without need to revert to the General Assembly. So it's forum shopping that goes on, and it's the norm leaders who have the ability to generate the norm, to cascade it to a global norm, and then to get it internalized as a global norm, that use these techniques to do it. Now, is it right or wrong? I don't want to make a comment on it. The purpose of my writing is to particularly draw attention of the global south to the dynamics of global norm making, and that hopefully if they understand it, then they will be able to participate better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. Incidentally, there are two more questions for you, which I should probably read out so that we can address them all. Are there any attempts at all to localize the FATF standards? Is there any forum dealing with these complaints? And then another question for Anthony. Do you honestly believe that the Nigerian government is serious in its fight against corruption? Is there a place for the argument that financial crime is no different to other criminal offenses? So please, maybe you can include all those panelists in your response. We have 2 more minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. These are very difficult and interesting questions. It's difficult to respond to those questions. When you look at the government in Nigeria, you may get mixed impression. On the one hand, there are elements in the government that are fighting for better standards and values. And on the other hand, there are quite a lot of people in Nigeria who like the fact that the place is not very organized, and they want to continue to take advantage. So when it comes to the internalization stage, it's very important for 2 things to happen. That there should be domestic coalition that will work together, NGOs, etc., professionalization, etc., to make sure that the positive norms are pushed. On the other hand, there needs to be an involvement of the state and the country in the generation of the norm, so that it will be more acceptable by the time it comes for internalization. So there are tensions here and there, and that is how I would like to leave it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Anthony. Professor Dikoka and Connie, any further comments on this?
I want to very briefly respond to the question around FATF composition, but Dr. Gikonyo, ladies first.
Thank you. I just wish to add and say that I agree with Dr. Igbe that Africa needs to find a way of bringing itself at the forefront to be involved in the norm making. That's the only way we can articulate our problem, because we cannot 100% fault the norm makers from the global north. They set these standards according to what they know, what they're used to. However, we need to bring in our own understanding and our interesting perception so that the norms are also suitable to us. Thank you.
And I'd like to link with that because I fully agree. The question that I want to respond to is essentially addresses the lack of African representation in Africa and how that impacts on inclusiveness. I think it's important not to focus only on country membership. It underestimates the impact of FSRBs, FATF-style regional bodies, Isamalag, Jaba, and for North African countries, MENA FATF. Their voices are invited into the process in order to bring balance, and often those opportunities may not be used fully. And then in addition to that, with some of the biggest successes that we've had, getting changes in FATF norms was outside of FATF and outside of membership, where we brought evidence and data that convinced the decision makers, even though we were not in the room. So there are ways, and I do think it's important for the Global South to consider, especially using the capacity at this event, to build the data to make a compelling case to change standards so that they meet integrity objectives of Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, all the panelists, Connie, Anthony, and also Professor. And I think we are looking forward to the rest of the sessions for today and also tomorrow. I'll hand back to the coordinators of this program. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I've actually got a problem with my camera at the moment, so I will log off and log back in shortly. But I'd like to just invite Mr. Richard Chellin to come up so that he can introduce his panel and the next session. Thank you.